Welcome, welcome, welcome. My name is Nick Baldwin. I am the co-founder of Lab Coat Agents, and we have Ryan Smith here with us today. I've known Ryan for quite some time, and we're going to talk today about how to dominate your market with five unique farming strategies. A lot of people think about farming being, super complicated and expensive, but we're going to talk about five powerful geographic farming strategies that will help you stand out, attract more clients, dominate your market. And you're going to learn innovative approaches to generating leads, increasing visibility, and building a thriving business no matter the market conditions. And Ryan, you have an academy. Why don't you well, first of all, tell everyone a little bit about who you are so I don't mess it up and get it wrong.
Sure. I have that in my slide, my presentation, so I can kind of do
Oh,
the formal
okay.
thing, and I'll give that if you wanted.
Well
We can
then,
jump
yeah,
right in
then
and
go right
go from
ahead.
there.
And
All
if
right.
anybody has questions, drop them in the chat or drop them in the Q&A section of Zoom, whatever is easier for you. But yeah, Ryan, go ahead and
Okay.
introduce
Awesome.
yourself and tell us a little bit about who you are.
Sure. I'll share my screen and we'll get rocking. Okay. Just get that open. And give me one sec. All right. So yeah, as you mentioned, we're going to talk about five unique farming strategies. I'll talk about who I am in a second and why I'm here. So I just want to say thank you to everyone for being here. Thank you, Nick, for having me on and sharing this with the audience, with your agents. I think the fact you're taking time out of your day is awesome. And I think if you can take one or two strategies away today, you're going to learn something that you can implement, you can put into your business and really make a difference. So can I get participation or commitment to participate today? I'm going to ask some questions. If you guys want to drop it in the chat, I'm going to ask some questions as we go along. So if you guys can agree to that, I'm going to do that in just a second. So I'm going to share who I am in just a second. But while I do that, if you guys can share who you are, so just share who you are, where you're from, and how long you've been in the business. If you want to drop that in the chat, we'll go through that so I can see kind of who's in the audience and what we're working with. So while I do that, I'll share who am I. So, as Nick mentioned, I'm Ryan Smith. I am an agent myself. So, I'm the creator of Launch Your Farm programs. I am a licensed agent. May will be 17 years for me in the business. So, I'm in the trenches. I have my license, but my main thing is I do training for real estate agents. So, I do speaking, training, and coaching around geographic farming. I'm the host of the Launch Your Farm podcast. So, I've launched that podcast a number of years ago. I've done 100 plus episodes on that. I used to do the Niche Agent podcast as well. And I'm actually relaunching my podcast in a few months. So I'm going to be excited to launch that out. So I've interviewed top agents all over the world. I've coached and trade agents all over the world. And I've been in the trenches, like I said, and I'm working with agents who are in the trenches every day doing this. I've also moved four times in my career, and I share that because I've had to start my business over multiple times. I was a brand new agent. I was 25 years old, got in the business. I was young, didn't know anything about the business, and I packed up and moved 3.5 hours away. Literally the day I got my license, I moved out and I started fresh. I had to learn the business from scratch. Luckily, I was on a team. I learned the basics of real estate. After about a year and a half, just shy of 2 years, I met somebody. I moved. I moved about an hour and a half away, started all over again, had to learn the business from scratch again. About 4 years in, my mom got sick and I was driving back and forth to visit my family on weekends and I was tired of driving back and forth. So I packed up, moved an hour and a half away to be close to my family, and then I settled into an area about an hour away from my parents and started all over again. I took on a role as a productivity coach. I was helping other agents grow their businesses. And through that, I realized there was a lot more there's a lot of opportunity in geographic farming. I'd tried farming in the past. I'd not done it very well. Through helping other agents, through honing my own skills, through learning different strategies, I decided I wanted to do that myself. So I partnered with a business partner. We applied the strategies that had been working on with other agents and then my own business, and I started a farm, and we did very well with it. So we launched in an area that I'd never had any sales in. I was new to the area. We launched in September. We got our first listing appointment in December. In January, we took our first listing. Over the next 15 months, we did 17 transactions from an area that I was brand new to, had no sales experience in. Most people tell you or to expect not to get results for 18 months to 2 years. We blew that out of the water because we knew what to do, and I learned what strategies work well. So we're going to share a few of those today. So then I again about 3.5 years ago, I ended up moving back to my hometown with my partner Nikki. So she does the day-to-day operations of the real estate, and I focus mainly on the coaching and training. So that's a long-winded answer to say who am I and why I'm here. So that's it. I'll jump right in and start jumping with it. So I'm going to jump in and ask you a question. I want you to answer what is the first word you think of when you hear geographic farming? There's a lot of different answers. There's no right or wrong. So I want you to share what's the first thing you think of. So postcards, Lisa said, yep. Postcards, yep. Anybody else? Money, yep. Door knocking, yep. Geo leads, yep. Newsletters, absolutely. Postcards and letters, absolutely. Take a couple more. Neighbors next door, yep. Awesome. So there's a lot of different things that we hear, and a lot of different agents have different views on what farming is. A lot of agents have different ideas of what is and isn't farming. And I'm going to share a bit of my thoughts on farming and what's possible farming, but I'm also going to share what farming isn't. And I think it's important to know that as well. And if you've never done it before, a lot of agents don't know what's possible with farming. If you've done it, maybe you've tried it and you haven't got results. Maybe you've tried what you thought was successful farming and didn't have success with it. So, who here has done farming or has tried farming in the past? Is anyone currently farming or has tried farming in the past? Lisa said me. Yep. There's 50 of you. Hopefully, some of you tried it or are doing it currently. If you haven't, that's okay too, and you're in the right place too. So, someone said somewhat. Okay. For 5 years and got good results. Awesome. I have. Perfect. Used to need to get it back to. Yep. So, okay. So, we get a lot of that. And the most common thing we get is people say, I've tried farming, or I used to farm, or I farmed for a little bit. And the reality is, a lot of agents have tried farming in the past, have tried strategies in the past that maybe didn't work, maybe they didn't stick around with it long enough and didn't get the results. And this is very common. Most agents I speak with have either dabbled in farming, tried farming at some point, or have never farmed at all. Very few agents do farming and do it at a high level and do it consistently. So hopefully I change that and get more people doing that. That's really what my goal is with what I'm doing. But what I'm going to teach you is, I say, isn't your grandma's farming. It's not what you're used to. Maybe you've heard about how to do farming in the past. Maybe you've done different strategies in the past. I say it's not your grandma's farming unless she's taken my training before. I'm going to flip farming on its head, and I want you to rethink of what's possible with farming. And that's really my ultimate goal for what I do, is really to help agents rethink what is possible with farming and do it in a way that works with them, works with their budget, works with the strategies and the skills they have, and figuring out ways to do that at a high level. So before I dive in and share what my belief is farming, or what farming is, I'm going to share what it isn't. Now, this might be a bit controversial for some of you, but I want to share what I think farming isn't. And then we can say, okay, if we know that's not what it is, then what is it? And the first one, which is always the most controversial, is that it's not about postcards. So a lot of people, that's the first thing they think of is postcards. That's the most common thing we get. And the reality is that is a strategy that you can use in farming, but at its core, it's not what farming is. So, yes, you can use postcards, and yes, they can be effective if done well or done right, but it isn't what farming is at its core. So, you have to understand that it's a strategy, but not the core of what farming is. And the same thing with door knocking. A lot of people think, well, it's door knocking and postcards. Those are the two most common things. We get people saying, I got to go out and door knock and use postcards. Yes, you can door knock in farming, and then again, that is a strategy that you can leverage in farming, but it isn't what farming is at its core. It's also not about billboards and park benches. Again, strategies you can use, but it isn't what the foundation is. It's not about a logo or a brand. A lot of agents think if I get the perfect logo, if I get the right color scheme set up, if I get the right brand built out, then I'm going to attract all this business. And that's what farming is. It's getting people to know about my brand. And again, that can be an important part of it, but it isn't what it is. It's also not about boosting your ego. For a lot of agents, they want their name out there. They want people to know who they are and recognize them. And again, if that's what you're doing, by all means, great. But that's not the foundation of what farming is. And this is I think, the most controversial one, that most agents think that farming is just getting my name out there. And they think if I just get my name out there to enough people, if I just tell enough people about me, then I'm going to start to get deals. And the reality is, yes, you can get your name out there, but that isn't the foundation of what farming is. The real reality is we want to get people's names into us. We want to get people to put their hand up and follow up with them in a much more effective way. And traditional farming is all about getting your name out there. If I just send out enough postcards, if I just door knock enough doors, people will know who I am. So while, yes, you do want to get your name out there in a sense, it's more than that. And farming is not just about getting your name out there. So if maybe you've tried farming in the past and this has been your approach, it might be a reason why you didn't have the success that you thought. This is also why it takes a lot longer to get results when you do traditional farming, because you got to send out enough stuff over and over and over and over again to try to get results. And it takes a long time for people to remember you or think of you and use that as a conversion method. So again, it's not about getting your name out there. And it's not all about real estate. For a lot of people, they think if I'm in real estate, that's what I got to talk about. That's what I'm sharing. That's what I'm going to do. It's all about real estate. Of course, there's a real estate element to it, but good farming, effective farming is not all about real estate. So if that's not what it is, then what is it? At its core, there's a few things that we want to focus on. And if you've never heard of farming before, you might think we're talking about agricultural farming, and its roots do come from farming, where you go out in farming, you plant your crops, you tend your crops, you watch your crops grow, you reap your harvest each year, and you repeat. And we use that analogy because it works well with what we do, and that's where the term comes from. But my definition of farming is a long-winded answer, which is strategically focusing your marketing, your expertise, marketing, and prospecting efforts in one specific geographic area to build a sustainable business and long term relationships. So it's a long winded answer to get to these three things. You're focusing on a specific area, you're building a sustainable business long term, and you're building long term relationships. And at the core, if I could sum it up to one key thing, it's all about relationships. Real farming, successful farming, long term successful farming is all about relationships. And when you understand that, it completely changes what we do and how we do it and why we do it as well. One of the things I talk about, this is a phrase I coined, this is after interviewing hundreds of agents and talking to thousands of agents, I've learned that there's some key things that agents who do well, whether they know it or not, are using these three pieces in their business. And I'll share with you in just a second what that is. But if you don't know that you're doing this, you may not have the opportunity, but now I'm going to share it with you. You'll know and you'll be able to see the opportunities. And successful farming comes down to these three things. And without these three things, you probably aren't going to have a long term, long lasting, successful business. So, what is it? The first, the C is community. The agents who are community focused and put the community ahead of the transaction are the ones who see the best results, the quickest results, and the longest lasting. You have to be community focused. So if you are transactionally focused, the odds of you succeeding at a high level long term drop drastically. The agents who are involved in the community, who care about the community, who put the community's needs ahead of their own, are the ones who have the long lasting business and have a enjoyable business as well. And I've seen it in my own business. I've seen it in my own town. I've seen it in the areas that I've worked. The agents who are very transactional have a short shelf life as far as high success. Then it's a constant grind and they're not getting the results that other agents can get by being community focused. So the first part is you have to be community focused. The next part is what I call positioning. And this is where you learn to become the expert and the ambassador in your community. Now, I'm not going to dive too much into this. I literally teach a whole session just on being an expert and ambassador. But really, what you want to do is learn to set yourself up and position yourself as an expert in the community. That doesn't mean you need to have sold more homes or any homes. We learn to position ourselves in a way that helped us stand out and be that expert in the community. And I'm going to share one of those strategies today. But you don't have to be the expert as in I've sold more homes. A lot of agents think, well, I've got it. Once I start selling enough homes, then I can position myself as an expert. You can do it well and you can do it effectively when you know how to do that. And then you want to be the ambassador for the community that you're serving. And when, again, this comes back to that community focus. When you're putting their needs first, when you're fighting for the underdog and when you're giving back to the community, you can position yourself in a way that really connects with people and gets a ton of results. So the key really is positioning. And when you understand this, this creates a lot more opportunities. There's a lot more things you can do with your business, and you can have a sustainable business. And lastly is the relationships. The ultimate goal of your business, in my opinion, should be about building relationships. So either strengthening the relationships you already have or building new relationships. And when you do this well, this is where you're going to have a thriving long-term business. We have to be focused on relationships as the end goal, and everything else is built up to fill that or enhance that. So does that make sense? I'm going to take a drink. So if it makes sense or resonates with you, drop a yes in the chat. All right. So what are the benefits of farming? And ask you guys, what do you think are some of the benefits of farming? I've got a whole laundry list, a long list of what I think are the benefits of farming. But what do you think might be a reason why you'd want to farm? Diane said yes. Awesome. So just someone throw out a couple benefits of what you think you could get from farming. Top of mind. Yep, that's a big one. Long-term relationships, absolutely. Exposure, absolutely. Being the expert, absolutely. I'll throw one or two more in there. All right, I'll move on. So I'll show you. There's a long list. Someone mentioned being the expert, creating more stability. Absolutely, you can do that. Enjoying the time you do, building a credible brand, building stronger relationships, lowering your costs, putting more money. There's all kinds of benefits of what you can get from doing farming at a high level. And I usually do another exercise in one of my trainings, and I ask people if they'd like to get these results. I have 20 questions, and most people say yes, they would like those things in their business. And the great thing is, when you do farming well, you can get all of these things in your business. You just have to know how to do it and what to do. So there's a lot of benefits, and we can get a lot from it. But what do you do if you have countless strategies? How do you choose from them? A lot of agents get stuck on what do I do? What strategies do I do? How do I get out there? How do I choose what's the right thing? And this I'm going to share the scope method and how we narrow it down. And I'm going to share different strategies. So I'm going to share what I call the strategy styles, which is the scope method. And what it is five things that every agent needs to have in their business to make sure you're having a balanced business and a successful business. And in order to get the most out of your farm, each of these need to be in place. Whether it's through one strategy or multiple strategies, we need to make sure that we are checking all the boxes in the scope method. It stands for self promotion, community, online, offline, prospecting, and education. And this is what, when I've talked to thousands of agents across North America, the agents who do well, again, whether they know it or not, have created a real balance in their business. You might be great at self promotion, but if you suck at the other things, you're not going to have a long-term sustainable business. So you have to make sure that we have each of these checked off. So what I'm going to do is break each one of these down individually, explain just quickly what they're about, and then I'm going to share one strategy for each of these so that you can implement it in your business. So we'll jump right in and we'll talk about self-promotion. When most people think about farming, this is what I call traditional farming. Most people think of self promotion as the number one way of doing it. So they go out there, they promote themselves, they tell people how great they are. Now, we have proven methods that work well, but a lot of these methods and strategies are outdated. This type of business is good for brand recognition, but you don't always stay top of mind when it comes to someone wanting to do business with you. They may know who you are, but they're not top of mind as when they choose you first. If you're just talking about how great you are and promoting yourself, it's not going to be as effective. The one thing, though, with self promotion is for some agents, this can be a set it and forget it model where they set up some postcards, they set up some auto drip campaigns, and they just blast it out month after month. And they tend to step back from it. And that's a great thing if you want to just be detached from that. But we have to be more engaged, and we'll talk about the other strategies as well. The other thing is, especially if you're doing offline marketing, this can be very expensive for large audiences. If you're doing mailers every month, this can be very expensive and can take a lot longer to build trust because you have to keep sending it, promoting yourself, and hopefully someone remembers you. So the other thing is it's less engaging for younger audiences. A lot of newer generations don't resonate with the self promotion because they want to know that you care about them and they want the community and they want to connect. So it doesn't connect the same way it used to. And the effects don't work as well as it used to. So I'm going to share one strategy that can help you stand out and brand yourself in a different way. One of the things that we did with our farm, and this is one of the reasons we were successful, is we branded ourselves around the neighborhood that we were farming. We still had our main brand, which I call the umbrella brand, but we created sub brands within our business. And when we got started, it was the orchard, was the area that we were farming, and we focused on the orchard. And we branded ourselves as the orchard real estate team. And we were very purposeful with this. We were very intentional with separating ourselves from everyone else. Now, I'm in an area, our largest real estate board has over 90,000 agents on our board, and I can guarantee you 80,000 plus and probably 85,000 of those are all doing very similar things, which is their name and themselves or their brokerage and how great they are. Well, if we want to stand out from the competition and create a way to really promote ourselves in a different way, I would consider branding yourself around the neighborhood. So if you can think about a visual thing that ties to the neighborhood, some type of way to connect to the neighborhood you're doing, you can really create a difference in your branding overall. When we started our farm, we got started, I said, in September, and we got our first listing in January. I remember going to the appointment, and she said, "Well, You guys are the experts, so you tell me what I should do. And I was shocked because I'm like, we hadn't even sold a home before, but I knew it was purposeful because we set it up on purpose so that we were positioning ourselves as the expert. And the next listing was, well, you're the experts. And the next one was, you're the experts. And we were able to create a brand that really stood out. We were able to promote ourselves in a different way and self promote in something that was a lot less similar to everyone else. And we were able to really create something that was really valuable. Currently, we live in Niagara region. So my small town that I live in is called Fort Erie. Our brand currently is Fort Erie Home Group. We branded ourselves around the area. We've got Lake Erie on the south of us and Niagara River, and we've got water all around us. So visually, we chose a water brand. But think about things in your neighborhood or areas that you're farming that you can use as a visual brand and put that into it. I guarantee you this is going to help you stand out and create a very different approach than most agents. So this is a great way to promote yourself in a different way. Next is community. And this is one of the things that I think most agents overlook and are missing a ton of opportunities on. The nice thing with this, I call it social farming, is you can reach a more engaged audience than self promotion. Most people don't respond to self promotion. They see it, they observe it, they take it in, but they don't really respond. When you do this well, you can leverage events, things that are happening in the community, and you can connect with people in a different way. This allows you also to put your own personal spin on things and get involved in things that you actually like and enjoy. So one of the strategies that we do is business interviews. The great thing about this is you're able to connect with local businesses. You're able to create content for your audience, which you can now share with your audience. You can take that content, share it with new people, share it with people in your Facebook groups or the community that you're serving. But the real value happens because you're starting to build relationships with those local businesses. Those businesses are hopefully going to share it with their audience and they're going to get in front of more people. They're also going to potentially refer you to their clients and friends and family as well. But the real magic happens is when they share it, you start to get the trust and the credibility factor because now they're sharing it with their audience. And I use Oprah, Joe Rogan, and Larry King as examples. They're experts at having experts on. And by doing that, they build their credibility. And when you're a guest on their show, your credibility gets enhanced as well. So by doing local business interviews, you're connecting with obviously your immediate community that you're already engaging with, but now you're reaching their audience in a whole different way. And this is one of the fastest ways to get in front of more people at scale in a very effective, cost-effective way. I'm not going to dive into too much of the details here because there's tons of things we can talk about. I literally have in the academy that I run, one of the strategies is just this on how to do this at a high level. But this is something that is very effective, very cost effective, and really works well. The next one is online and offline. And in order to have success, in my opinion, you need to make sure you're hitting both of those. We want to make sure that we're reaching people online and offline. And the more we can cross those over and bring people into both of those worlds, the better our results are going to be. So we want to make sure that we're getting people offline, bringing them into our online world, and taking people online and bringing them to our offline world. The nice thing is there's different strategies you can use. There's different costs that you can do so that you can reduce costs. It's much more effective at reaching people and getting more attention and more reach when you do this well. So one of the things that we do is we give back to the community. And I think it's a big part of, again, being community focused. And the nice thing with giving back is you can leverage online and offline resources. You can go door to door, belly to belly to introduce and meet people. You can do online advertising and promote it. You can go to local businesses and promote it there. You can connect with people. You can do local videos. It really helps you connect and make a big difference. Again, I'm not going to go too much into this, but thinking about how you can leverage local events, local charities, local causes, and figure out how you can connect people in the real world to an online thing or take people from online and bring them offline and do that. We do a community garage sale. We're now going to be doing our 4th year. It's a major success for us. It's a big win for us every year. And again, we reach people online. We have an online map that people go on and check out all the people participating in it. We do a food drive and we do a ton of stuff with that as well. So it's a great way to connect online and offline and bring people together. And this can really make a big difference and help you grow the community involvement as well. Next one is prospecting. A lot of agents, they're great at self-promotion and or they're great at prospecting. But when you layer prospecting in on top of the other things, you can be much more effective with your time. The great thing is with prospecting, you can be much more effective with what you do because you can find warmer sources of leads. You can be more purposeful with it. But a lot of times agents don't do it consistently or don't do it in ways that I think get the best results. So what I want to talk about is reverse prospecting. And if you've ever done prospecting, most people know it's going out and looking for business. What I like to do is reverse prospect. Take a lead that you already have, try to find them a deal, and go out there and meet people that way. I'm going to share a quick story on this and how I turned this reverse prospecting into a lot of business. So I had a client, I borrowed a listing. So I was advertising a listing. I got a buyer lead out of that. They advertised or they responded. They wanted to see some properties. I took them out and see some properties. They couldn't find what they wanted. I ended up posting an ad like this, just this is the ad in a Facebook group. And that ad, you can see I posted in two different Facebook groups. There was 20 comments on one, 13 in the other, and it was a local community group. As a result of that, I got 4 seller leads that reached out to me saying, yes, I'm thinking about selling. Of those 4, I listed 2 of them. I sold my client's home. So they bought a home with me, and so I got a buyer out of it. They bought a home with me as well. I got 2 listings out of it, plus I listed their home as well. So just there alone, it was almost $4 million in deals because of that. This same client now has 2 properties, the one that they sold them. They're going to be selling that plus a townhome that they have. They're going to be selling that and buying a $1.4 million purchase up to $1.4 million. So that's nearly $7 million in business because I was out looking for them. They were a buyer and they were looking for something specific. And that turned into a long chain of potential deals. So when you're thinking about prospecting, don't just go looking for business of, I want to see if you want to work with me. Use the clients you've already got. Use the database that you already have. We do a newsletter that we send out, which we'll talk about in a second. And one of the things we have is I call it client corner. So we have our buyers are looking for and our sellers are offering. Each month we send it out. We talk about, we got buyers looking for this. We have sellers that might be thinking of selling, and here's what they got. Use that as a way to generate more leads. You're working for your client. This is a great way to stand out and create more value for them long term. So think about any leads that you have and think, how can I turn those leads into more leads? That's going to help you expand what you're doing and really take your business to the next level. So if you haven't done reverse prospecting, it works incredibly well. The last part is education. And this is one of the most underutilized and to me, one of the most powerful things you can do in your business. By leveraging education into your business, you're going to keep people entertained, educated, up to date, and it's going to help position you as that expert. So I mentioned before, you don't have to have sold homes before to become the expert. Using education, you can position yourself as an expert and the ambassador by doing it effectively. Now, the nice thing is that with this, it doesn't have to cost you a lot of money, doesn't have to take a lot of time, but you do have to be consistent with it. You don't want to do one event once or one educational piece once and hope that something happens. We want to learn to use education ongoing and consistently. So one of the things that we do, this is one of our biggest lead generators. This is how we built the farm, or that first farm I was mentioning earlier, was through a community newsletter. And I emphasize the word community. It's not a real estate newsletter. There's real estate elements in it, but it's not just about real estate. It's about what's happening in the community, things to do, events, neighborhood news, funny and heartwarming stories. We have contests and giveaways. We have free reports and guides that people can download. You can highlight lots of different things and really make it community focused. And this is one of our biggest lead generators. Nikki, my partner, is phenomenal at this. She does door knocking with us, and her conversion last year at the door was 48% of the people she spoke with, she would sign up on our newsletter. Now that's high because I've trained her and she's done well with it. Most agents can get between 25 and 35% of people they speak with. If you position it well and you understand how to do this, you can get a lot of people. The great thing with a community newsletter is it's a lead generator, it's a lead conversion machine, and it's a lead follow-up system that you can use long term. But it has to be valuable. It has to be focused on things that they actually want. If you're using a cookie cutter, cut and paste system that everyone else is using, there's programs out there that they literally just swap out the heading and you put yours in there. It's not going to be the same. So you have to take some time to personalize it and make it educational, informative, and engaging. And this can be huge if you do it right. So if you've never done it before, a newsletter is an amazing way to generate leads and can be the central hub for a lot of the other strategies that you're doing, and can be a great way to tie it all together. So this training I normally do is 15 strategies because we had only half an hour. I condense it down to 5. A lot of the other strategies all connect and tie together, but you can create a lot of value when you start connecting those together. So when it comes to your business, there's the 5 strategies. It's all about creating balance. You have to find things that work well together. We talked about the scope method and creating that balance and understanding, making sure you're checking those boxes and getting the best results. When you have the balance in your business, that's when you can start to see more opportunities as well. If you're only focused on one thing and not creating that balance, it's going to be tipped to one side. Rules can change, technology can change, things like COVID could come out and wipe out what you're doing. You have to make sure that you're creating balance in the business overall. So hopefully that changes your view on farming. We talked about at the beginning what farming is, what it might be, how you consider farming. Hopefully by today you've at least reframed what you think about farming. And I want you to think about if you aren't farming, why aren't you farming? We talked about all the benefits of it. We talked about the different strategies you can do. If you aren't farming, or if you've tried it before and you're not doing it now, why aren't you? And if you are farming and you're not doing it at a high level, what's holding you back? Because there's usually something. It's usually fear of something. It's not having the right knowledge. You're not sure what to do. You're not sure how to get the right results. But what is it that's holding you back from getting those results or even starting in the first place? And think about that this week and then take some action on it. I gave you 5 different strategies today, though. I want you to pick one. Go out there, pick a strategy that resonates. It doesn't have to be the 5 I chose. It could be 5 that you can think of. It could be, or sorry, one that you think of using the scope method. Think about the piece that might be missing in your business and go out and take action on that. If you're willing to do that and take action and set yourself up, I promise you that action step is going to help you move to the next level. Then go back and look and say, okay, now that I've got that set up, what is missing? What's the missing piece that's going to move the needle and help tie everything together? So we'll wrap up quickly. I'm going to share what's next and we'll answer some questions. As I mentioned, I've got a giveaway for you guys. If you're interested, I launched the localexpertacademy.com. It's a great training resource. Each month we drop a different strategy. We give you step-by-step instructions. We give you templates, tools, resources. There's group coaching in there. We give you everything you need. There's 12 different programs that we offer each month as a new one, and it's designed to help you implement all the missing pieces that you might be needing in your business, and it's designed to help you become that expert in your community. So I'm going to give you a month for free. If you go to localexpertacademy.com and use LCA as the promo code, you'll get a month for free. I'd love for you to check it out, try it out. If you don't like it, I won't be offended. It's okay. I just want you to get involved and get interacting with it and take action on that, because I guarantee you these strategies can help make you really stand out and separate yourself. So that's it. I will say thank you, and I will open it up for questions if you have them.
I think a lot of the reason why agents don't get into farming for the most, a couple reasons. One, I think the most prevalent reason is like it takes time. And a lot of agents don't have patience for that stuff. They don't have,
Yep.
like you did really well with your first try, right? Like you said you got your first piece of business after like 3 or 4 months, or was it only from mailers that came from,
Nope.
or was it other
So,
things?
so I'll start. I actually failed miserably the first time I farmed because I did just mailers the first time and I failed
Okay.
miserably. We had a farm. This was before I moved and it sucked. And then I tried another farm and it flopped. And then that's when I started coaching other agents, seeing what are the agents doing that gets quicker results. And for me, it was instead of, again, I switched from getting my name out there to getting people's names into us. So for us, what we did was we focused on the report. We created a neighborhood guide and we went out and got people into our database. We got people to sign up for a report. So our farm was 3,600 homes, and
Hmm.
out of that, we ended up with 450 people getting our report each month. And instead of focusing on the other 3,200 or 3,150 people, whatever it was, instead of loving on them, we focused on those 450 people and we put our attention and time into those people. And most people think, well, I just got to keep sending stuff to the other 3,100 people, then I'm going to get business. For us, it's get people to put their hands up, get them to,
Yeah.
to sign up for something, and then just love on those people. And then everything we did was how do we get people into our world? And that is where you're going to get results quicker than just passively sending out postcards or hoping that the masses will do something. It's how do you get
Yeah,
people
there's
engaged?
definitely like misconceptions around farming, just like I think there's misconceptions around prospecting. Like whenever you think of someone who says they're a prospector, you think of phone calls. And I feel like prospecting is so much more than phone calls, whereas farming is so
Yep,
much more than postcards. You know what I mean?
100%. Yep, it can
Um,
be a strategy, but it doesn't mean it's the be all and end all of it.
so Ian is asking, how do you handle being in multiple farms with multiple brands?
So what we do is we have an umbrella brand. So we have our umbrella overall brand, and then we have our sub brands, and then we have if on our websites we have here's our main brand, and then as seen in or as powered by, and we have these little sub brands within it. But really, the marketing to that brand is the brand that we focus on. So if they're in the orchard, our marketing and our branding is powered by the orchard real estate team, and we focus on that. And then we have our overall arching brand. What I would suggest though, if you're new to this, you shouldn't be in multiple farms. Choose one area,
Hmm.
and I would say it's better to scale up than to scale back. So I don't think most agents shouldn't have multiple farms. Use it as your laboratory, like the
Hmm.
lab coat agents, and use your farm as a way to test strategies, styles, figure out what works, what doesn't work, figure out the bugs before you expand. Because that's what I see most agents do is they try to go in a bunch of different places or too big of an area. They fail miserably, and then they either pull back and say, I'm not doing farming, it doesn't work. So you gotta start small and build up and figure out what works
And
before you move
and
in.
what are your suggestions for how to choose a farm?
So that's the super condensed version of that is I always say start with your budget first, and not just a financial budget, but your time budget, your energy budget, and your resource budget, and say,
Mhm.
what can I commit to for at least a year financially, time, energy, and resources, and then work backwards from that. And so it's not a number of homes, it's more about what can I commit to do consistently, and then you can build your strategies out that way. That being said, rule of thumb, usually I tell agents between 500 and 1,500 homes is a good place to start as
Mhm.
a solo agent. But I've seen agents have success. Like a good friend of mine was one of my first coaching clients, had 280 homes. And everyone said, You're crazy. That's too small of an area. And he just picked this area. He said, I have $100 a month to spend. If I blow it at the end of the year, my wife's not going to kill me. That was his deciding factor. And he crushed it. He became rookie of the year. There was 11 sales in that neighborhood. He did 8 out of the 11 sales. He just was hyper focused and super intentional. So I would say don't go more than 2 or 3,000 if you're getting started. If you haven't done it before, to me that's too big. Usually I find that sweet spot is between 1,000 and 1,500 is a good number.
Okay, and there's one question here. I'm not sure if I follow it 100%. Maybe you want to read it with me. I have been successful in real estate for 25 years and did farming, but I'm moving 3 hours away. I know it takes 5 years to get results. I don't know. I don't know if it takes 5 years. If you're not
Def
doing it right, it might take 5 years.
yeah. That
They're saying, should I decide to drive? Uh, take. I'm wondering if I should decide to drive back and forth from that farm. I'm just paraphrasing because I don't know if English is their first language. Um. Anyway,
I would say
what do
it
you
doesn't
think?
take 5 years to get results. Like it shouldn't. And if it takes you 5 years, then you're definitely doing something wrong. Um, you want to keep your business. So then, if you want to do that, you can. Personally, I would refer it out. I'd find someone I can partner with and refer it out. 3 hours away is way too far for me. That's just me.
Yeah.
I moved an hour and a half away on the other side of the city, 2.5 hours with traffic because there's like the main cities here. I went
Hmm.
from here to here. I referred my business out because it wasn't worth it for me. Even though I know the area, I know the market, I referred it out. So I would find someone that you could refer to and start fresh because 3 hours of driving, I mean, 3 hours there,
Hmm.
3 hours back, you could be prospecting and getting business quicker and getting those results a lot sooner. So I would try to find a referral or do like a team and you can have a small team and expand it out and do it that way. But definitely doesn't like if you're not getting results in under a year, then you definitely need to be tweaking what you're doing.
Yeah. Hey, put that slide back up with your QR code just so people
Sure.
can scan it again. Yeah, take advantage of the month free. If you don't like it, Ryan's a big
Oh,
boy. He won't be sad.
yeah. That's the Facebook group I did. I'll put
Oh,
the
well, join the Facebook group,
yeah, I
The
love it.
Expert Agent, and then go to localexpertacademy.com.
Yeah,
Use the code
there
LCA,
you
get
go.
a month free. Take advantage of what's in there for 30 days, and if you like it, keep going. What is it if they decide to keep going? How much is it?
It's 99 bucks a month
All right,
Canadian.
so
So
that's pretty
if
good.
you're US, it's like 70 bucks a month. It's super cheap. I made it super
Oh
affordable
yeah,
and made sure that
okay.
people are yeah.
All right, cool.
So
And you're in Canada, and so I'm assuming you have coaching clients like all over the place. So it
yep.
works whether it's Canada or the US. You know what
Yep.
I
And
mean?
I designed it that way. Doesn't matter what market you're in, doesn't matter what price point you're in. These strategies work if you put them into play. You can tweak things and we can work through that through the coaching calls if you want help with customizing things, but we give you everything you need to get set up and running. Really it comes down to the consistency, applying the strategies and putting them into play. And if you do them, you'll get results. But at the end of the day, you can lead a horse to water. You can't make them drink. So you got to
Yeah.
put those strategies in place. And we try to take as much of the guesswork out of it. We try to create as much templates and tools and resources that you can use so you're not having to come up with scratch. And basically I built this to be something that if I was getting started farming, this what would I want? What would help me get that there as soon as
Yeah.
possible? And that's what I did.
And there was something else I was going to ask you, and I can't remember what it was. But I was going to ask you. I was going to tell everyone if they want to rewatch this, just go to the Lab Coat Agents YouTube channel, and it'll be up there within the next 24 hours, you can rewatch the webinar. If anyone has any questions for you and they want to shoot you an email and just kind of like find out a little more info on, your coaching program, how would they do that?
Connect with me on Facebook. That's the easiest way. I'm on there all the time. If you join the Facebook group, The Expert Agent, if you search for The Expert Agent, if you can check that out. That's the easiest way to connect. You can engage with me. I'm in there all the
Okay.
time. You can ask questions. Online is the easiest. Or if you want to shoot me an email, it's info@launchyourfarm.com. That's the best way to connect with me as well. Um, Always happy to chat, answer questions, help people out. I'm super passionate about farming, so if you have questions and anything, by all means, reach out. Happy to
Cool.
point you in
I
the right
love it.
direction.
And I heard a really cool stat about mailers, about like compared to email. So mail has a 90% open rate and a 4.5% response rate, whereas email has like less than a 1% response rate if you're,
Yep.
so I mean that's pretty huge. You know what I mean?
So now here I'll add to that our newsletter that we send out. So if you know that the real estate emails have between a 15 and 18% open rate, which is pretty low. Our report that we send out each month has a 58% on average open
Wow,
rate
that's huge.
and a 5.5% click through rate. So we have a lot of people love it. They want it. They want what we have, and this is where it comes down to is if you're providing value and you're doing it
Hmm.
consistently, and when you have permission, that's when you're going to be able to do that. Direct mail can work well, but it's super expensive and it can be very costly before you start to see the results. This is where
Yeah.
that online and offline having that balance is going to help you weather some storms too if you don't have a big budget. So
Yeah, I
yeah,
love it. Sweet. Well, this has been fun and educational and entertaining too. I mean, a little bit of both. Yeah, so go join the Facebook group. The what is the web Facebook? The Expert Agent?
the expert agent. Yep, I'll
Yeah.
drop the link in there. I have a link that
Okay.
goes directly to it.
And then reach out to Ryan through social media if you have some questions. Email him at info@launchyourfarm.com. Go to the Lab Code Agents YouTube channel and subscribe so you can be notified when this gets uploaded tomorrow or later today. Depends how quickly they edit it together. But yeah, this has been great. So I
Awesome.
learned a
I
lot. Appreciate you.
appreciate everyone being here. Thanks for having me on, Nick. And again, if you have questions or anything comes to farming, I'm a person to talk to. So.
Everyone have an awesome day.